Any questions? If not, we'll stop. Tafadhal, Imran.
The apprentice, when he reads by himself, what should he try to achieve by reading without a teacher?
Question says, the apprentice by himself, what should he try to achieve when he reads? We say, as we always want to say, who can guess what I'm about to say? La, something else. Another famous,
Go back to it.
la, something else. One more try. Something we say all of the time. This could be explained an entire lecture by itself. Everybody understand this? This can be explained what? An entire lecture by itself. We say is that reading has several purposes and objectives. There are different reasons behind reading. Sometimes you read with the intention of memorizing. Sometimes you read with the intention of reviewing. Sometimes you read with the intention of looking for a mistake, scrutinizing, criticizing. Sometimes you read researching, looking for some information that you think or know or purposely read, or you have an assignment. And then sometimes you read for the sheer fact of benefit. And then sometimes what you read because it feels so good to read. We just like reading. I love reading. Everybody understand this? The sheer fact of reading is so enjoyable and so pleasurable. Everybody understand this? There's different reasons and purposes behind reading. So therefore, a student of knowledge, a disciple of hadith, an apprentice, the first step is to seek the advice of the teacher. What book should I read, Sheikh? What's the best book on this topic? And there are different guidelines behind reading and studying books. Any book that you're trying to memorize or trying to study, a metin or anything, the beginning book should have one or two staple characteristics of the book. Number one, look for the book that is the shortest. And two, look for the book that is the easiest. It's for the beginner now, not someone advanced, the beginner. The shortest and easiest book. Not the biggest author, not the most famous author, not the biggest sheikh, not the most popular book, la 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 la. The shortest and the simplest to understand. Everybody understand this? The shortest and the simplest to understand. So therefore, you seek the advice of your teacher. His experience. You get to learn from his years of sacrifice, of suffering, of hardships. Everybody understand this? You learn from his wisdom. You get his hikmah for free. And you take that for some time. You take his advice. You keep on the training wheels. And as you grow, as you progress, as you learn, then you start branching off and reading other books based off of the skills that you've learned from the teacher. Based off of the what? The skills that you learned from the teacher, then you start to create your own Khalid. You get your own interests. You take your own views and opinions. You break off those training wheels. Everybody understand this? Everybody clear on this? So therefore, as a beginner, you should focus on studying a small book, a small, concise manual. If you have the ability to memorize it, then memorize it by heart. And you should have a thorough understanding of it. There's nothing in the book that you shouldn't understand. And there are some things which you may not memorize, which you should have understanding of everything. So once you take a small book in every science, I've learned something basic on the Arabic grammar. I've learned something basic on the sarf, morphology. I learned something basic on Tawheed and Iman. I learned something basic on Usul al-Tafsir. I've learned something basic on Hakada. Then you move on to the next level. And once you have the basics on another level, then you move on to specializing in something. And you find your own interest and taste. I've read the basics of Tafsir, but I like to study the Qira'at, the modes of recitation. That's what I like. Everybody understand this? And there isn't enough time in my life for me to master 3, 4, 5 different things. Not enough time. So let me focus on one thing. But I do know the basics of Tafsir. And there isn't a question that you're going to ask me about Tafsir, the basics, and I'll say, I don't know. That's a problem. You don't know the basics. Just like medicine. The heart doctor, he knows the basics of the skin. He knows the basics of what? Of the skin. It's not his field of expertise. But he has to know the basics, how to cut somebody open. And how to sew them back up. Everybody understand this? So a scholar of hadith has to know the basics of Tafsir. The scholars of Tafsir has to know the basics of have hadith. Understand this? I get that. So therefore, it's a stage or it's a period of development. You develop, you grow, you mature. It depends on what the book is, and it depends on your level of strength. The beginner is one thing, the middle, the guy in the middle, and the one who's an expert, who's advanced. There are years that have passed by, and he's been studying. His reading is not like the one who's reading the basic ABCs. And that's another wide, common mistake among many people today in America and even in Medina. You find somebody who's on a basic ABC level who forces another student to be on his level. We don't see you sit with our shit. You don't come to this class. Well, the other brother, he says, I've been in Medina for 20 years. I was sitting in this class when you were a Christian. Without any exaggeration. Literally. Someone he said, I was sitting in this class when you thought Isa was your Lord. You expect me to come sit in the class next to you and I've been in Medina for 20 years? That doesn't make sense. I've been in Egypt for 10 years, 15 years. You come off the plane yesterday, say, we don't see you sitting in the class. We don't see you sitting with the sheikh. And the sheikh is teaching a basic, simple book. That's a mistake. Someone who's been studying for 10 years, not like someone who's been studying for a week. Everybody understand this? Someone who's been studying for a year is not like one who's been studying for a month. So there are levels. There are what? There are levels. So a person, you may read a book of Dhafir that's beyond my knowledge. But it's not for me to hate on you and try to pull you down. Dhafir, you think you know everything because you can read this book, but you don't take from the ulama. It's not true. And that's oppressive. Everybody understand this? And many of the pious predecessors, they said, Rahimallahu rajulan arfa qadra nafsi. They said, may Allah have mercy upon a man who knows his worth. May Allah have mercy upon an individual who knows his place. Dhafir is there, I'm here. May Allah help Dhafir and support him. I can't get jealous and angry at him because he's advanced and I'm a beginner. So there's different levels and there's different ranks. Certain books are only for experts. And certain books are for all. Certain books are in the middle. The beginner is not to read an advanced book. It causes confusion. It causes a problem. Something he's not ready to handle. Everybody understand this? It's just like giving a child food. When a child begins to wean himself off of breast milk, you don't give it sirloin steak. You give it mush food, small pieces. A small something that they can suck on and grab and hold on and walk around and slobber all over it. And it's not no bones, nothing sharp. You can't choke off of it. But the baby doesn't eat like a 3-year-old. 2-year-old doesn't eat like a what? Like a 5. A 5-year-old doesn't eat like a 10-year-old. I give my daughter, they can have a whole fish with bones, skin, and eyes. That's not what I give to my 5-year-old son. He only gets filet. And these people have the ability to pick, to discern, to remove, and know what to eat and what not to. Even the same applies to your studies. The same applies what? To your studies. And it's a capital mistake for you to force a 10-year-old child to eat like a... Many people do. And oftentimes it's based off of jealousy and envy. And it's based off of bugging. Just being nasty. Just hating on someone. Congratulate the next man. Alhamdulillah. And not, who do you think he is? And so on and so on and so forth. That's evil. Everybody understand this? Yeah. So the basic step is to build your library, Imran. Build your library. And you should build your library based off of the advice of your teacher. And then ask him, what book should I read? What book should I study? And from time to time, as you continue, go off and read a couple other books from here and there. Even without the permission or the request of your teacher. But the moment you're confused, everyone pay attention. The moment you're confused, the moment you don't understand, make sure you go back to your teacher. And for some years out of your life, make sure that you present your understanding to your teacher or teachers. No. Sheikh, am I understanding this properly? And when you do this 2-3 times, 4 or 5 times, as years go by, you continue to read with your teacher, read with your ustad, read with your sheikh, your alim, then you'll have the ability to know what's what, what's right and what's wrong. You have the ability to buy books. What happened to that? Knowledge is a continual process. Everybody understand this? It's a what? It's a continual process. That's in brief. We need a whole lecture on that. Perhaps we will do one on that. Bidnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Any other questions? Fadl.
I was about the pictures, like a personal picture, if you can hang it in your house, in your living room.
Question says, personal pictures. Can you hang them in your living room, in your house, etc.? Pictures should not be hung in a Muslim home. They shouldn't be hung in a Muslim home for many reasons. It's best to avoid it, stay away from it. Inshallah. Can't lose by doing what? Staying away from it.
No, sorry.
Wallahu alam. No more deep. Fadal.
One question. What age should a child fast? Start fasting? What age?
Question says, what age should a child start fasting? We say a child should fast as soon as the child has the ability to fast. No matter how young. They can fast without harming themselves, then they should do it. Rather, before a person can do a full fast, they should do partial fast. Your child says, inshallah, I'll fast from morning to dhuhr. After dhuhr, you can eat, you can drink. Get them in the mode, train them. Or half of the day, alhamdulillah. The 6-year-old or 9-year-old, they fasted what? Half the day. Asr time, you finish your fast, iftar. And then the next year, do the same thing. Then the third year, then they can maybe go to, what happened that? So the child should fast as soon as the child has the ability to fast. Wallahu Follow Sharif.
Sheikh, when Ramadan comes, should one leave off their other studies and just focus on Quran? Or should they leave off memorization and just start on reading?
Question says, when Ramadan comes, should they leave off their other studies and just focus on Quran? I don't think so. My opinion is that you should focus on the Quran, focus on the Salah, focus on doing these things, and there shouldn't be no time in which you just leave off your studies. No way. No way. La. Ilm is ibadah. Seeking knowledge is from the best acts of voluntary worship. Min afdal al-tatawwu'at, if not the best tatawwu'. And then sometimes with some knowledge that you seek is farq. It's mandatory for you to keep studying. We are relying on you, Sharif. We're relying on you. You're reading this book and these fiqh books, that's it. It's not an option anymore. You've learned the basics. Now you must become even more sharp because we're behind you as a community. You understand it, Sharif? You seeking this type of ilm is no longer what? An option. The basic imam of the masjid, he leads the salah, he gives a basic khutbah. He doesn't have to study these things. That's extra. But now you're the sheikh of the community. You're the qadi of the community. You're the mufti of the community. You're the muallim of the school. You have to be on what? High level. So it's mandatory for you to continue to sharpen your blade, as we say. Everybody understand this? As the Prophet ﷺ says, وَلْيُحِدَّ أَحَدُكُمْ شَفْرَتَهُ. He says, keep your blade what? Sharp. وَلْيُحِدْ. Sharpen your blade before you slaughter an animal. And that also applies to every aspect of life as well. إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَتَبَ الْإِحْسَانَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. Allah has prescribed ihsan upon everything. And then he mentioned an example, when you slaughter, when you do this, do it in the best, proper manner. Everybody understand this? So if you allow an entire month to go by without reading, without studying, without making review, you're going to get rusty. You're going to get rusty. So my opinion is that you should study, and 10 minutes is not going to hurt you, an hour, it's a whole month. And the one who really focuses on ibadah, Allah is going to put barakah in his time. Let alone the fiqh of fasting, the fiqh of taraweeh. Your mother has a question, your brother, you don't need all of this knowledge. Knowledge does not contradict ibadah. It does not contradict ibadah. Wallahu a'lam. That's in brief. Fadl Abu Naila. Right after him, inshallah? Right after that, inshallah. Now, the question was about memorizing the Quran.
Let's say it was hard for somebody to learn Arabic language, or it's not something that's easy for him. It's very difficult for him. Should he still try his best to try to or maybe he should go where it's easy for him?
It was one of the great ulama of the past, a famous grammarian named Al-Kisai, rahimahullah, well known. Anyone who studies grammar, he'll find his name. He started studying, they said, and there was a time in which there were certain things he couldn't get. And he thought about quitting. He was going to quit learning. He wasn't going to study, he was going to study something else. And he sat down frustrated, and he saw some insects. And from the insects that he saw was an ant. And the ant, as we know, they're very strong. They carry bigger things, more than their weight. So the ant picked up a morsel of food and started climbing up the wall. And the ant was moving fast, it said, and got to the middle of the wall and just, bam, fell down. Miskeen. So the ant did the same thing again, got up the wall, fell again. 3, 4, 5 times, and eventually, how big the thing was, the ant managed to get up top of the wall and to go where it was going, its burrow, whatever the case may be. And he said, khalas. Then afterwards he became Imam al-Kisai, rahimahullah. He took inspiration from a small insect. You can take inspiration from bigger things, inshallah. Don't stop. Perhaps you learning and you studying, maybe that's your jihad that Allah put on you. And it's haram for you to turn your back on the what? Huh? On the battlefield.
Battlefield, yeah.
It's haram to do what?
On festival.
وَمَنْ يُوَلِّي, Allah says, he who turns his back on that day, except for those, etc. Everybody understand this? So it's haram for you to flee on the battlefield. And perhaps you learning and studying, no matter if it's difficult or burdensome, maybe that's your battle. And it's unlawful for you to turn your back on the battlefield. So maybe that's your jihad that you have to fight. And no one said that it's going to be easy and come to you in one day. Everybody understand this? And there are many other stories of the ulama of the past, how they studied, how they pursued, how they persevered. And when you read these different books, you get the finished product, the easy, simple, mashallah. But you don't know, only Allah knows. And some of the slaves, perhaps Allah shows some of their sacrifices and struggles. So be persistent. Be persistent, inshallah. Keep studying, keep trying. That's my advice. Wallahu a'lam.
Can you fast the 6 days of Shawwal if you owe days? Do you have to fast what you owe then and the 6 days of Shawwal in Shawwal for women? Do you have to have all the signs of puberty to be in puberty, to fast and wear hijab?
But we say that it's best for a person to finish what he owes before he does something extra and involuntary. It's best. Fix the days that you miss from Ramadan, then fast the days of Shawwal. That's best. That's best for so many reasons. One, because it only makes sense. Handle that which is obligatory, free that which is virtuous. Take care of your debts before you buy yourself a new shirt, some new sneaks. Pay your bills first. Pay your bills before you. I said business before pleasure. That's first and foremost. Common sense. Secondly, the Prophet ﷺ said, those, he says, man sama Ramadan, thumma atba'ahu sittan min Shawwal. Okay, he said, those who fast Ramadan, then follow it up with 6 days. And those who miss days are not necessarily people who have fasted Ramadan. So therefore, it is best for the sister to make up the days. However, what happens if a sister misses those days and she tries to make up those days, and for one reason or another, the month of Shawwal goes out. She leaves. Shawwal is a limited time offer. Making up the days of Ramadan is always available. So that's something to think about. That's something to what? To think about. But it allows no doubt it's best to make up the days and try your best to make up those days before you embark upon voluntary fasting. Well, as far as the question about puberty, does a person have to have all of the signs to be in puberty, so on and so forth? It all depends on what the sign is. There's some signs of puberty that are clear. There's some signs of puberty that what? Trump the other signs. Or like having a wet dream. You have a wet dream before other things come. That's clear. Khalas. Everybody understand this? And other signs of puberty that need other things as well. Certain things on your body, your voice changing, things like this. And in most cases, the major signs of puberty come around the same time. And they what? They come around the what? The same time. So it depends on the sign. It depends what on the sign. There's certain signs of puberty that come before puberty. So we talk about a girl. She may have certain types of developments on her body before she's actually officially what? In puberty. And the same applies to a boy. If this starts to grow, this changes, and they're not officially in puberty yet. So it depends on the what? On the sign. It depends on the what? On the sign. And as far as wearing hijab, then just like a young child should fast, even though it's not mandatory, the young girl should wear hijab, even though it's not mandatory. And if you think that you're going to get your daughter to wear the hijab, the proper hijab, that's another concept, between the hijab of the sunnah and hijab of culture. Everybody understand this? And there are people on both sides as well. There's some people who cover up a certain way, and alhamdulillah, their culture is to have a full hijab. But when they leave that country, they don't wear anything. Because they weren't wearing the hijab because it's sunnah, they wear the hijab because it's culture. And there are other people on the other side of extremism who have a lax, open hijab because it's their culture. And they may say, well, I'm not walking around dressing like this. It's 2016. I'm not Arab. I'm not Arabian. I'm not Arabic or Arabic, as the brothers say. So therefore, I don't have to cover like this. That's a problem as well. Everybody understand this? So if you think that you're going to get your daughter to wear the proper full hijab after she reaches puberty like that, then you're living in a dream world. This development, this cultivation of your daughter, it has to come from a long, tireless fight from a young age. Before it's mandatory for her to do it, you have to teach her to do it. And it's not just clothes, how you conduct yourself as a lady. A lady, you're not your brother, you're different, girl and boy. There's certain things that you share, there's certain things that are different. Ladies don't do this. Ladies don't sit like this. Ladies don't eat like this. Ladies don't do what boys do. That's for boys. The hijab, cover yourself. Everybody understand this? You have to do this when your child is 6, 7, 8, 9. Before they turn 15 to 16, she's in puberty. She's changing the chemicals in her body's changing. She likes boys now. He's cute. Brother Khalid is cute. It's a problem now. She thinks he's cute. It's hard now for you to get her out of that what? That mindset. Not saying there's something wrong with the girl thinking that other brother is cute. That's natural. That's natural. Everybody understand this? That's what? That's natural. We're not against the natural way. There's nothing wrong. Boys should like girls. Girls should like boys. That's natural. There's nothing wrong with that. But you teach her, lower your gaze. You teach her Islam is not a religion of your lusts. Everybody understand this? You have honor. You have dignity. Not for me. Not for your family. First and foremost for Allah. Allah. Then yourself, then later on. Many people that teach their children dignity for your family, dignity for your country, which is good, but that's not the greatest dignity. The reason why you can't have a boyfriend has nothing to do with me or your mother or your tribe or your clan. But Allah Ar-Rahman is going to be displeased with you, young daughter, if you do that. This is what you have to say to your child. And the tarbiyah of the child starts at a young what? Young age. So a girl should wear hijab, 7 years old, 6 years old. There's nothing wrong with it. Short sleeve, get her in the concept of khimar. Get her in the concept of she feels shy being around men that she's not related to. Get her in the concept of shyness, of covering herself at a young age until, inshallah, when it's time, when it is mandatory, it's something that she wants to do. Abby, bring me an overgarment back from Guyana. Abby, get me a khimar. Can we wear our shaylas? They want to do it. And not, wear your khimar. Cover yourself. La, 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 la. You're too late in the game. And that's why the Prophet told the children, he told the parents to tell the children to pray at a young age. At 7, at 10. And it's not mandatory. It's not mandatory for them to pray yet, but to train them. To get them in gear to making the salah. Now you have to bang and wake them up and beat them with a stick to pray. But they themselves know so what? Time to make salah. Wallahu alam. Perhaps you have to stop here. It's time for the salah. Unfortunately, we run out of time.
Sorry, just short. Just brother just asked if you have design in his t-shirt in front. Can you play with it?
He shouldn't pray with a design in his t-shirt. If it's a face, an image, an animal, he should take it off, flip it inside out, things like this.
You just
If a person feels down, leave it off, cover it. I can't say it's haram. It's not like a face. You see what I'm saying to you? A face, where it's a face, or even loud and colorful. Allah.